Well, let's take you now to the World Newsroom. We can join Neha, who is there for us, who's been talking to some of her colleagues in the World Service. What have you been finding out, Neha?
Thanks, Lucy. Like you said, these statistics are very shocking, very stark. However, the last point that you made about lack of enough legal consequences, that is one which echoes quite loud with India. Although the verdict has been given today in Delhi rape case, but by and large, conviction rates remain very, very low in India. And also the whole question about marital rape, rape within relationships is the one which is talked about quite a bit. Well, with me in the World's Newsroom today are Tulip Mazumdar is with us, who is a global health reporter with BBC, and also Samantha Barry, who's a journalist with BBC. Tulip, you've been following this particular research very, very closely. Stark revelations. How exactly was this conducted to be able to facilitate such findings?
Yes, well, it was 10,000 men from 6 different countries that took part in this survey right across Asia and the Pacific. And they were not actually asked directly, have you ever raped a woman? What they were asked was, have you ever forced a woman to have sex? Have you ever had sex with a woman when she was too drunk or drugged to be able to give proper consent? And they did this using handheld computers. The interviewer left the room for these very sensitive questions, so the men were able to answer quite honestly. And the point you raised there about understanding what rape is and rape within marriage. Now, 1 in 4 men surveyed here said that they had committed rape. Half of all men who said they'd committed rape said that they'd done it more than once, and it was most common within marriage or with a partner.
And we understand of the countries that were surveyed, Papua New Guinea had most shocking statistics. 6 in 10 men have admitted to rape. And I believe, Samantha, you've lived there for a year and a half. What was your experience there?
They are shocking statistics, but I'm not surprised. Papua New Guinea is one of the worst places in the world for violence against women. It's where women are extremely vulnerable against rape, attacks. They're accused of sorcery and witchcraft. It is the kind of society where you walk down the street and it's commonplace to see a man beating his wife. Even just a couple of examples, in the last few months, a woman had her lower lip bitten off by a stranger in a market. A woman had the body of her unconscious son used as a weapon against her in a beating. And in April, an American academic visiting the country, she was gang raped by a group of men off the coast of Madang. That led to what was called a national house cry, which is the Takpisin local dialect for mourning, where they got together groups of women to try to stand up against this culture of violence against women. But it is shocking, shocking numbers, the violence against women in Papua New Guinea.
But why is it so prevalent there?
I think it's, and I think the report touches on this a little bit. If you grow up in a culture and you grow up as a man in a culture where it's accepted, and there is this acceptance for a woman to be beaten on the street, and nobody really turns a blind eye to it. And again, violence perpetrates violence. So in the report they said that young men that had been victims of violence themselves were more likely to carry out violence and rape.
And interestingly, I mean, obviously what's going on in India, the 2 nearest countries to India that was involved in this report, India wasn't, was Sri Lanka and Bangladesh, and the rates there were actually much lower. But what the report also found is that up to 97% of the men who admitted rape said there were no legal consequences. In 5 out of 6 of the countries that were involved in this study, rape within marriage isn't actually recognised within the law at all. So in a way, it's not surprising that the statistic is so high. But another thing to mention is the reasons given for why men themselves said they did this. Now, the main reason was sexual entitlement. I deserved it. It's my right to do this. Another reason that was given was entertainment. So they were bored. It was for fun. And another reason was punishment, to actually punish a woman. So they were very open about why they did this. And it just goes to show that they were so open about it because they can be. It's not really seen as a terrible thing.
Right. And I mean, although India was not involved or included in this research, but many of the points that we have touched upon today, particularly about marital rape and the whole sense of sexual entitlement, I mean, these are some of the points which do echo across Indian society as well.
Neha, I know you presented World Have Your Say on BBC World Service Radio today, and you were talking about the Delhi rape case. What sort of reaction did you get from your listeners to the verdict?
Lucy, there were very, very strong reactions. A lot of our participants talked about the question of attitude. We did have a participant who was very vocal and said, well, to be honest, you know, this is so prevalent, nothing's going to change. We did have people who had some faith being reinstated and they were more hopeful. But by and large, that whole question of attitude and how that has to be tackled remains the largest question.
Okay, Neha, thanks to you all in the World Newsroom. Fascinating to hear from different people in the World Newsroom about those attitudes and that